11 waiting.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Wisconsin Wrestler Podcast. I'm your host, Teague Fenwick, coming to you from Holman. Joining me, as always, from Fort Atkinson, new digs in Fort Atkinson, might I add, Steve Workwin.
Oh, you mean the location?
Yeah, new location.
Well, kind of. My office is pretty much no more because we're moving, so I had to move everything downstairs. So you guys might hear some background noise. You might hear some dogs barking, kids forgetting them on a podcast. All that kind of stuff might happen today. So this might be an adventure.
It's always an adventure, right?
That's right.
Oh man. Well, Steve, I'm excited for this one tonight. Last Division II preview. One week away from the season. When this comes out, it'll be 6 days from the season, but nonetheless, we are this close to wrestling.
It's exciting times. And isn't it crazy, Teague? We started this so long ago, and here we are already in our final sectional do. Geez, I can't even speak anymore. It's the change of times, change of the weather, I meant, or the time going back. But we're this close to finishing up with our last sectional D Division II sectional preview. Holy crap.
Nailed it.
Man. I'm awesome. Let's introduce our guest, and he can take it over for me.
We lost 6 viewers already. No.
Oh my gosh.
Without further ado, let's introduce our guest here. He wrestled in Harmony, Minnesota, which I believe, if I'm recanting this correctly, he said is the hub of wrestling in Minnesota, something along those lines.
It's the hub of you got Rochester, Minnesota to the north. You got Decorah, Iowa to the south. Northeast is La Crosse. Northwest is Austin, and we're the town of 1,000. Graduating class of 42. So we're a hub to the big cities.
Nice. Perfect. He then wrestled at Platteville, and now spent a few years coaching, but a lot of his time recently has been at Whitewater. When I say recently, I mean 17 years. This is his 17th year coaching at Whitewater. Talking about none other than Whitewater's head coach, John Schimming. John, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Hard to believe, 17th year coming back here to Whitewater. It's a great place to live and been an enjoyable time, and keep her going. So thanks for inviting me tonight.
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
That's right.
12 people on here, John. What are you? I mean, you got a big fan club going on, or what?
That's right.
They're drinking the Kool-Aid.
His groupies, man.
All right, I gotta get my critiques of Whitewater off of this outline real quick.
Oops.
Well, we got a D2 Sectional D, as Steve stated earlier. Last Division II sectional, and not really Southeast anymore. It's just South in it, Division II. For the folks that are like familiar with Whitewater, you're going to see a lot of teams from Southeast Wisconsin. And this one, if you're familiar with Sectional D in general, a lot of teams from Southwest, like central-ish Wisconsin, are coming over here. And that's what a lot of this first regional is, which is the Belleville Super Regional. First team up is
Hold on, Teague. I apologize for interrupting. We already have our first comment by Mr. Matt Verbatim, and it says, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. John Schimming.
Thanks, Matt.
I should have started with that. Yeah, I couldn't have said that any better. All right, our first team up here is at Belleville Monticello New Glarus, who is 6th in the Turner Regional with 113.5 points. They're returning 8 of their 9 starters and 110.5 points. They'll be led by Mason Mao, who's a state qualifier at 126. Sectional place winners Blake Endres and Carson Loshaw, and sectional qualifier Riker Swenson.
Yeah, Belleville, they're always have really tough kids. Their numbers may not always be there, but what Coach Swenson does with that group is just, he does a great job with them. He's a family guy with a bunch of daughters and a couple of boys, and he's got the ability to coach his son now, Riker, and he was impressive last year as a freshman, 160. So as a former teammate of mine with Pete and his son, my daughter's age, kind of fun to watch him grow up through the years. And Pete's done a really nice job there with his kids at Belleville.
Next school up is at Belmont Platteville, who was fourth in the Prairie du Chien Regional with 141 points. They return as 7 of their 10 starters and 92 points. They do lose Tanner Paulson, who was a state qualifier at 138. They are bringing back Porter Mandarano, who will place 6th at heavyweight, along with 3 wrestlers who placed 3rd at regionals. Always got to feel good when you got a returning big man as your anchor.
Big fella.
Yeah, there's a few heavyweights we'll talk about tonight for this section. I noticed going through. Another one there was Carter Spenceley. He was a tough. I will see him in the Monroe tournament, I think, and he was a tough one to deal with. So he's another one to add to that mix. Unless I'm mistaken, he's a senior, would not disappoint me if he was, but I'm pretty sure Carter Spenceley will be back roughly at 126 for Belmont.
Belmont Platteville guys, they've had a heck of a little string of heavyweights here. Peter Minorano, 6, obviously, but wasn't a couple of years ago, Teague, didn't they have Michael Douglas out there on their squad that was a 2-year? I thought he was a 2-year place winner, but yeah, that's pretty awesome to have 2 heavyweights. Usually you lose a heavyweight and you don't have another good one to come for a long time, but to have 2 right in a row like that, that's pretty good.
Next school up is Bigfoot Williams Bay, who was 3rd in the Jefferson Regional with 193 points. They return as 6 of their 11 starters and 96 points. They'll be led by returning sectional qualifiers Chase Rodriguez, Jax Hurdle, and Eduardo Malbez. And Steve, I know you like to see the sectional place winners, but I think Rodriguez in his sectional bracket, probably one of the better guys to not make it, into that sectional placing, let alone into the state tournament. I think we're going to see him down at the Kohl Center this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I was watching on YouTube a few of his matches with, I believe it was an Evansville kid. And those were some battles.
Yeah, Chase, he's been tough since he came in as a freshman. He's that guy that you come along and think, boy, how long till he graduates as an opposing team? He does have things going on. I think he might have been dinged up a little bit, but which was too bad to see because he and Katzenmeyer at the conference tournament had a heck of a duel, or had a heck of a match in the finals, and then in the sectional, I thought he would do well. Jack Hurdle is another one. He's a strong running back for them, and he came along really well last year. Showed a lot of improvement, and overall as a team, Bigfoot just wrestled outstanding at the regional tournament, and their numbers were really good, and they looked good last year at the end of the season. So if they ride that way, they'll be good for the program.
Moving on to Broadhead Judah, who was 4th in the Turner Regional with 137 points. They're returning 8 of their 11 starters and 100 points. They'll be led by a Marcus McIntyre, who was a state qualifier at 138. Sectional place winner Joe Lomar, and a sectional qualifier Emmett Allen.
Yep, I've got those 3 also. And for us wrestling them, they're just always tough as a team. They're in our conference, and past few years their numbers haven't been there. But you're in a coach's mind, you want to win it on the mat. Sometimes the kids they have are always they're hammers, and I don't expect anything less from Broadhead this year.
Joe Lomar, Teague, we always like to focus those guys that make it to sectionals but don't quite make it to state. Think of these 3 guys that are in front of them. Teague, can you name them? 132 pounds at this sectional.
In sectional C at 132. Oh wait, yeah. So not Tanner Anderson, not Brody Hart, but it was Brett Koenig.
Yep.
Owen Sefrud and Chandler Curtis.
Teague, you're a savant, man. You kill me every time. Yeah, could you imagine walking in and there's a little bit of a moral victory there to say, okay, yeah, I might not have went to state, but those 3 guys are pretty darn good.
All ended up making the podium. Also, Coach, are you a Rock Valley Conference?
We are. We're Rock Valley, yes.
Love it. That might be one of the best conference names. Competes with the Pacer, which oddly enough, there's teams from the Pacer conference in the next super regional. Yeah. Next team up is Clinton, who was at 5th in the Jefferson regional with 106.5 points. They're returning 9 of their 10 starters and 99.5 points. And they'll be led by returning sectional qualifier D'Angelo Vernon.
Yeah, their numbers are on the rise. They're also Cody Sullivan is a tough kid. He was a conference. He took second at conference. And then DJ Vernon. He's a really athletic kid too. Just didn't put together the regional that we thought he would. So he's another good one there for Clinton.
Yeah, Clinton is one of those teams back in the 2000s. The Zeros, I like to call them, had some huge numbers. I remember when I was head coach at Cambridge, we would come in, we'd wrestle a quad with Clinton, Whitewater, and I think it was Union Grove was the other team. And Whitewater,
and Harvard, Illinois.
And Harvard. Well, at that particular time, Harvard wasn't there, but but man, it was just a great quad. And I remember Clinton and Whitewater had great numbers, and we, for a small school, had pretty good numbers. And Clinton, I swear they'd bring in like 30, 40 kids, and it's good to see them. I know they took a little dip, but it's good to see them kind of bringing those numbers back up.
Yep, it's good for wrestling. That's our goal.
Why were they called the Zeros?
Oh no, I didn't mean, I said the 2000s, which I called the Zeros. I didn't mean to call Clinton the Zeros. I apologize if that came across that way.
Sounds like there's no positive connotation that can come. Like, are they giving up 0 points or?
I apologize, Clinton. I think I said we used to go to a quad in Whitewater in the early 2000s. I used to call them the Zeros, right?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I apologize, Clinton fans. I would never call a team the Zeros. Although I do have the story about the 5-0s. We used to play the softball team called the 5-0s from Oconomowoc. And do you know why they call them the 5-0s? Because Oconomowoc has 5 O's in it. And I said that to a person from Oconomowoc, and it looked like the lights came on. They're like, wow, I never knew why they were called the 5-0s.
I think it might have been Ryan Woods that you brought that up to. Or...
I brought him up to it. Yeah, but it was somebody else that really the lights came on, or they never knew why their baseball and softball teams were called the 5-0s.
Next school up is Cuba City Benton Southwestern, who was 6th in the Prairie du Chien Regional with 119.5 points. They were turning 7 of their 12 starters and 50 points. They do lose Aiden Nolan, who qualified for state at 120 pounds, but they'll be a returning sectional qualifier, John Walkershauser, along with 2 wrestlers who placed 4th at regionals.
Yeah, we wrestled Walkershauer first round, and I was nervous wrestling him because he's got Coach Walter down there, and I just was nervous wrestling him. He was my coach at Platteville, one of my coaches, and I knew that he's a good quality guy, and I was nervous. I was happy that Mason was able to get through that match because that boy's tough. I think he's going to learn a lot from that sectional experience last year. Been trying to light a fire under his belly.
Hey, Teague, and for those of you watching, John, I like to throw a trivia at Teague if I can. The one previous was a little bit unscripted. I just threw that one out there. But Cuba City has a 4-time state champ. Obviously, Teague, you know who it is.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Donar, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
189-0. There are 2 other. So he's one of 3 4-time state champs that finished their career undefeated. Can you name the other 2?
One was a coach for me at Platteville.
Wait, there was 2 undefeated. I thought he was the only undefeated one.
Nope, there's 2 other ones that finished their career undefeated.
A 4-time state champ. Oh man, it's none of the recent guys. Kevin Black lost one, didn't he?
I'll give it to you, Teague. Kevin Black was undefeated at 157-0.
And the other one was Matt Hanuki, right?
You are correct. Yes.
Yep.
Nice job. 117-0.
That would be that useless information that my wife tells me I have.
So first 4-timer and undefeated. He really put the stamp on the whole thing.
Did.
He did.
Yeah. Had a nice career at UW and came to Platteville. He kind of gravitated towards us lightweights for that 1 year he was there.
Coach, you guys have been in the same sectional for a while. How many dinars do you think you coached against in your time as a coach at Whitewater? Like, how many dinar matches do you think you have under your belt?
And then you mix in that they were at the Monroe tournament. So
yeah.
Shoot, probably only. I think I've only coached against 2 of the dinars. Because there was a time we went over to the Milwaukee sectional too.
Oh, that's
so maybe only 10.
Only 10.
Yeah.
That's light numbers given there's been like 5 or 6 of them.
And the other big family, Wegman family over there. That's the other one we had to coach against.
Next school up is Darlington Blackhawk, who was runner-ups in the Prairie du Chien Regional with 185 points. They were turning 9 of their 13 stars and 117.5 points. They do lose Owen Hugheshite, who placed third at 182 pounds last year, and Brady Horn, who qualified for state at 195. But they were turning Ethan Aird, who placed fourth at 106 pounds, Owen Sefrud, who was a runner-up at 132, and only lost matches to one guy last year. Braylon Gable, who was a state qualifier at 160, and a sectional place winner at Maddox Gable. And knowing Darlington Blackhawk and those football programs, they'll probably find a way to replace those upper weights that they're losing.
Yep, they were a very strong young team last year, and I see them causing some havoc over on that side of the state this season.
Teague Maddox Gable, 152 pounds, sectional qualifier. But once again, I pointing out these guys that were just, in the wrong place at the wrong time, right? Had licked Arnold first and second, state champ and runner up, and then had Maddox Shaka from Prairie du Chien in front of him as well, state medalist. So that's once again, pretty rough bracket.
A Maddox battle for third place.
Yeah.
Moving on to Adela Vendarian, who are runner-ups in the Jefferson Regional with 197.5 points. They're returning 8 of their 13 starters and 85 points. They do lose a couple of state qualifiers, and Owen Chelminiak, who made it at 160, and Cole Hansen, who plays fourth at 182. Good baseball player also, by the way.
Absolutely.
They are returning Chris Karbosh, who placed sixth at 120 pounds at state, along with sectional qualifier Jacob Dutton.
Yeah, we had them in our regional last year, and that was regional. We were going in and pretty much had it down all week. Didn't know if we could pull it off because they had a strong team last year, and we were able to pull out the bonus points, and we were able to hold them off. They returned strong kids this year. They lost one and two, but another one that you didn't mention was Nate Huff. He was wrestling up a weight. He was wrestling at 70. So he'll be in that mix too for them. New coach with Coach Nelson, the best in retirement.
Next school up is Edgerton, who was at 5th in the Turner Regional with 130 points. They're returning to 10 starters and 100 points from last year's regional squad. They'll be led by returning sectional qualifier Bo Allison, along with 3 wrestlers who placed third at regionals.
Bo Allison's a tough football player too. He runs hard, so if he brings that to the man, he'll have a nice season. Edgerton took a hit during the COVID year. Their numbers dipped during that year. I remember Coach Lodo, the frustration over COVID and that, but he's did a really nice job. He's brought back. Their numbers are creeping back. So he's come out of retirement. He's head coach over there at Edgerton now.
Moving on to Evansville, who won the Turner Regional with 269.5 points. At team sectionals, they beat Whitewater 53-19, and then lost to Prairie du Chien 31-25, a match which I think almost everyone in the state watched the end of that one on YouTube. But that team's returning 8 of their 14 starters and 134.5 points. They do lose Gunnar Katzenmeyer, who placed 5th at 106 pounds last year. But they returning a pair of Heisers, which is usually a good thing. They got Danny Heiser, who's a state champ at 120, and Owen Heiser, who won it with an undefeated season at 170 pounds, along with sectional place winners Charlie Braunschwig and Tucker Peterson. And losing 6 starters, most teams, that might be a struggle for them. But I think we've noticed now, in at least the last 10 years, or when I've really started to pay attention to wrestling, a team like Evansville seems like they can handle those losses.
You made a comment that returning Danny and Owen's a good thing. I'll have to disagree with you over here in Whitewater. So no, those are tough kids. And Yeah, Evansville, you think you might have them the next year, and they always have guys fighting at the bit to get back in or to be the next man up. So they're going to be solid. They're the team in the Rock Valley right now that we're chasing. So that's who we're after.
And they're going to have good numbers coming in for younger kids. I don't know how many of them were 8th graders, but I know we got to see their middle school program last year. And I'm going to throw these numbers out. If they wrestled 40 matches, they only lost like 4, 5, 6 of them. And they had some really stacked youth wrestlers coming in to feed those kids that they lost, or feed the high school program to replace some of those kids they lost.
Next school is Monroe, who one of the best team names, the Cheesemakers, 3rd in the Turner Regional with 147 points. They were turning 6 of their 10 starters and 88 points. They do lose Brady Shue, who placed 6th at 145 pounds at state. But another big man who made to the Cole Center that's coming back, and Isaac Bunker, who, when I say big man, that's not even, there's no hyperbole with Bunker. They also have a sectional qualifier, Christian Shue, coming back.
Yep, Monroe. That's a tournament we go to, and their kids are always so technically sound. They know how to hold good position, and they're good, strong farm kids on top of it. So they're always tough to compete against.
Yeah, you're not kidding with Isaac Bunker, Teague. We saw him at Bi-State. Got to watch him wrestle, and then on my way home, driving back, I stopped at the Quick Trip in the town that you're from, Teague, world famous Quick Trip, and I walked right by him. He was we were going to get chocolate milk or something like that. I walked right by him, and he's larger than life, man. He's a huge dude. So Bunker was he had to face Mandarano faced him at a sectional, and one of those kind of crazy things with the seeding where I ended up having to face him first round at state as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I have to assume Bunker's an O or D lineman on that team that's currently in the semifinals right now.
He's a large man.
So.
I'm gonna check. I'm gonna do a weight check on him. Make sure he's he's gonna be able to make 285.
He can hydration test and wrestle in time to start the year. Yeah. Parkview Albany is next, who was 3rd in the Mineral Point Regional with 140 points. They were returning 9 of their 11 starters and 121 points from last year. They'll be returning a few sectional qualifiers in Sam Schwingles, Wesley Egan, and Brennan Brewster.
Yeah, we don't see Parkview often. They used to be in our conference. They went to a different conference a couple years ago. But they always come ready to compete. We do see them in the Monroe tournament, and they come on the mat ready to go.
And the last team that we have up is Turner, who was runner-ups in the Turner Regional with 212 points. They were turning 8 of their 13 starters and 130 points. They do lose Jackson Burke, who was a state qualifier at 170 pounds, and Cal Reese, who placed 6th at 182. But they were turning sectional place winner Justin Teague, best last name ever, along with sectional qualifiers of Braden Ward and Nate Pisani. And Turner's one of those teams where I kind of track them throughout the year, because it seems like the numbers they always have coming back, like they're always this close to making that next level for team sectionals, and they just always have a good team in their way. But yeah, Turner's just a fun team, and they'd be a cool team to see, make it onto team sectionals at some point.
Yeah, there's another Teague in there they did mention. There's boy that wrestled 220 for him, and he just missed on qualifying, in which he had some really good matches with Mason last year. So he's a good one to keep your eye on at 220. And then Zach Reese, Coach Reese's son, he's probably going to be in the mix. Probably, I'm guessing about 126, not quite the same size as his brothers, but he's a tough kid. And I'm guessing, I think he was 120 last year. He did not qualify, but that was a really tough regional last year. 120. One of them was Heiser. So, and it might have been the Belleville kid also at that weight potentially. But that was a tough weight class. So he's another tough one on that team.
Gotta get my coin out here quick.
While I'm filling some time, Teague, I looked it up. He's good. Isaac Bunker, number 64 for the Monroe Cheesemaker. Offensive, defensive line, 6'5", 288 pounds. So he's got to shed 3 pounds to go.
Can't
face
make
coach.
scratch weight yet. Yeah,
that's right. He's got to cut a little bit.
And we got Tails. You're up first.
Regional picks. I'm just going to call a shot here and say number 1 is going to be Evansville. I don't have a lot of fluff to that one, other than, they did lose quite a bit, but you got 2 state champs in the lineup. That's a lot of points, and they're going to surround with a good cast of sectional qualifiers. And like I said, they got a good group of good mix of middle school kids that are now coming up in the high school that are going to add to that program. I don't think they're going to, they're just going to take that next step this coming year. So that's my regional champ. The 3 teams I have that'll be, I think, let's see, the 3 teams that I have that I think are going to be fighting for second place. I have Edgerton with 10 returners, right? I think the returners are key for me, but I don't think they're going to be in it. I think the mix is going to be between the 2 D teams, right? The 3 D teams, Darlington and Delavan Darien, same team. Just, that was my little joke. Wasn't very funny. But I'm going to give this one, I'm going to go with they have 9 starters coming back, 4 sectional qualifiers. But the thing is, 3 sectional qualifiers and 1 guy that was 1 match away from state. There's going to be some big points scored from Darlington to be the super regional runner-ups.
Well, took the words right out of my mouth. I got Evansville first. They came, I don't even know what to call it. They came some madness away from making it to team state last year. So as if this team needed a chip on their shoulder, they're coming into it with a chip on their shoulder this year. And I think they'll handle their regional well. And then, looking at the second place team, Steve, I'm kind of the same line with you. Got the 2D teams. And then, I want to throw Turner in the mix as well. I think they could have a good mix of numbers, and they usually have a mostly full roster, which I think is going to be key here. But Darlington Blackhawk with 3 or 4 guys that are going to place, at or near the top of their bracket. I just think that's going to carry so much more weight than when the regionals were 6 or 7 teams. So I also have Darlington Blackhawk as my runner-up team here. I think it'll be a good race. Good race come regional Saturday, super regional Saturday.
And you never know. Teams end up filling out a roster and get some surprise kids show up, and you never know what happens.
And before we move on to the next super regional, I would do an ad read, but since we're on YouTube, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to fill it in later. But Coach, were your lights dimming during that? Was I seeing things or something, or?
No, it might, but they could pop off if I don't look into my classrooms. They might pop off a little bit.
All right. Maybe I'm just seeing things then.
Coach's
Great.
classroom is haunted.
It is the old middle school.
All right,
Coach, I wonder what you teach.
You wonder? Yeah. You like that drawing back there, my daughter? Been there for a couple of weeks. So
all right, we're going to do a quick 3-second silence before we move on to the next super regional. Folks that are watching on YouTube and you listen to the podcast, if you happen to, you'll notice a little bit of editing magic, a little bit of production magic, we like to say. So moving on to our second super regional, the Jefferson regional. I think folks who know Sectional D are going to be a little more familiar with this one. You got a couple of newcomers from the Lodi regional. And then I think even Coach, as you said, you guys used to be in Sectional D as well. So I think a lot of the teams that are in this one, even if they were in Sectional C, they probably spent some time in Sectional D at some point. So a lot of familiar faces here. First team up in this one is Catholic Memorial, who was 4th in the East Troy regional with 110 points. They were turning 1 of their 7 starters and 10 points. They lose Fidel Jaramillo, who was a state qualifier at 113, and Josiah Nathaniel, who made to state at 285. Ben Kalawa, their lone returner, he placed third at regionals last year. And guys, I always wonder with Catholic Memorial, I always figured the football to wrestling pipeline would kind of produce more numbers on a year-to-year basis for this team.
And their head football coach is also a wrestling coach. They always have a heavyweight there. Every year they have a heavyweight that makes the state tournament or plays in the state tournament. So that's the who's it going to be this year for them. I was shocked to see only 7 at the sectional or regional tournament last year. When we used to be on that side of the state, they're always the team would be looking at them. Okay, what are we? They're going to have these guys here, but that surprised me that they were so senior heavy last year.
Moving on to Columbus, who was 6th in the Lodi Regional with 50.5 points. They were turning 4 out of their 5 starters and 38.5 points. They'll be led by Logan Rader and Jefferson Mowbray, who will place 3rd at regionals.
Well, Coach was talking about Catholic Memorial. Surprised to only see that many at regionals. I was surprised to only see 5 at regionals. We saw Columbus at the Beloit Turner duels, and they had a lot more numbers. They had about 10, 11, 12 wrestlers and pretty solid kids. So maybe some kids just got hurt, whatever it might be. And I know that the success of their football team, maybe we'll get some more numbers out there. And I kind of find it ironic that our first 2 teams, I just noticed this, Catholic Memorial and Columbus. I don't want to, tick off any Freedom or Two Rivers fans that probably aren't listening to this right now, right? But these are the 2 teams that I think are going to meet for the D4 state championship football game a week from this coming Thursday. So both of them have to get by Two Rivers and Freedom here. But like I said, I think these 2 are just destined to meet each other in a little over a week.
I'll message Chase Matthias right now.
Yeah. Don't tell him. I'll go incognito. I don't want that guy kicking my butt.
Next team up is East Troy, who were runner-ups in the East Troy Regional with 221 points. They're returning 5 of their 13 starters and 83 points. They do lose a couple of place winners in Jonah Edwards, who took 5th at 120, and Max Hudson, who placed 4th at 285. They are returning sectional place winner Aaron Mueller and sectional qualifier Blake Cater. East Troy, one of those models of consistency, Steve. It seems no matter what preview we do, we always usually find a way to bring them up in a team race of some sort.
Yeah, just a great history with East Troy. 13 starters last year, lose 8 of them. I mean, that's pretty senior heavy, but Coach, you know them better than anybody here, right? East Troy is usually going to reload.
Oh yeah, they've got a strong freshman class coming in, so I don't see him to fall off too much. Coach Holly is an outstanding technical coach. He'll have them ready at the right time. And the thing with them, there's been just the history with Whitewater and East Troy. Just some of the best dual meets I've been a part of is with us, and I think it's been 3 of the last 4 years we've gone to tiebreaker to the end of the duel, and it's just been phenomenal matches between us. But the kids, as big of a rival it is, that kids get along real well. It's pretty cool when we're not competing against each other. It's pretty cool. They did some stuff over the summer at the Southern Lakes duels that they do go to open stuff, and they kind of run around with that together. So it's kind of cool to see them, the big rivals right down the road, but they get along well. It's cool. That's what wrestling's about.
Yes, sir. Moving on to Grafton, who was 3rd in the East Troy Regional with 146 points. They're returning at 6 of their 10 starters and 96 points from last year. They got a few sectional qualifiers coming back, and Ethan Timothy, James Volkman, Ben Birch, and Nathan Kraus.
Sorry, Grafton, I don't know much to say. I've never seen you guys compete, so it'll be interesting having you guys in the same regional as us for a year. Sorry, I don't have much to don't know.
Oh, that's right.
I would
state
say,
champ, yeah.
Yeah, the recent state champ, probably one of the more impressive state tournament runs. I mean, especially for someone that I didn't pick to win the state tournament. Ellis Flager, I think that was at 160 pounds. But dude, he went on a tear to end the year. So shout out to Ellis Flager.
And do you know where he went and wrestled in college? I know he went somewhere. I just can't remember off the top of my head.
Oh, we can.
You can do a quick Google search, but yeah, you're right. Talk about turning things on at the right time.
Missouri.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Okay. The pipeline to Missouri.
Next one up is Jefferson. There we go. Sorry, Jefferson. They were 6th in their regional with 105 points. They're returning at 7 of their 8 starters and 79 points. They'll be led by returning sectional qualifiers, Caleb Jose and Aiden DeBlair.
Yeah, and their numbers are starting to come back too. They took a hit for a couple years there, but they're starting to get some numbers back in, and that's going to help them along the way.
And coach, right down the road, I know you see Jefferson. You guys play him in every sport, same conference, obviously, right? And same thing. I just like I talked about with Evansville before. I get to see Jefferson's middle school program as well, and just real good numbers, good strong kids. And so I think those numbers that you're going to see from their middle school the last couple of years are really going to help the numbers at the high school.
Moving on to Lake Country Lutheran, who was 6th in the Campbellsport Regional with 54 points. They were returning 4 of their 5 starters and 35 points. They'll be led by sectional qualifier Matt Dobson, along with Jacob Waltersdorf, who placed 4th at regionals.
Yeah, this is a team I have never had the opportunity to see them in any tournaments or dual meet action. But as I did some research, those same two names you mentioned seem to be the core coming back for them.
Next school up is Lake Mills, who was 4th in the Jefferson Regional with 114.5 points. They return 7 of their 9 starters and 66.5 points. They'll be led by returning sectional qualifier Ben Buchholz, along with Colton Brandel and Eddie Evland, who placed 3rd at regionals. And I think they have a good freshman coming in this year too. I forgot his name, but yeah, is it Tim Braun, Steve? Is he still the coach there?
Yeah, Owen Burling is the kid. He placed 4th at Kids Nationals last year. He came in preseason rankings, right? They are what they are as far as incoming freshman, but he's the number 9 ranked freshman coming in this year.
Yeah, yes, it is Coach Timber, and he's done a nice job with them. And I have those same guys: Buchholz, Brandel, Everland. Everland, we wrestled him a couple times last year, and good kid.
Yeah, and from coach, he said they should have over 20 kids in the room this year. So that's got to be not got to be, but I was going to say that it's not double, but that's a huge increase from last year for them.
And moving right across the street here, literally, you look at our regional sectional map, and if you zoom out, it looks like the same school. But Lakeside Lutheran, who was 7th in the Jefferson Regional with 80 points, they're returning 9 of their 10 starters and all of their points. They'll be led by sectional qualifier Sam Schmidt, along with 5 wrestlers who placed 4th at regionals.
Yeah, I see of those, Dan McVane at 126 he was one of them that placed 4th. 126 is a tough weight class from our regional last year. I think that of the 4, all 4 of them going in had 25 wins or more going in, and of the top 4 at 126.
Yeah, Lakeside Lutheran should be stronger this year than they were last year. I don't know how this pipeline happened, but they participate with Fort Atkinson. Fort Atkinson wrestles in some summer duels with some of the big schools around the area, like Pewaukee and Oak Creek and Burlington, all these different, there's probably about 15, 20 schools that participate in it. They do these summer duels, and Lakeside Lutheran got hooked up, and they're competing in those duels. And they had about 4 or 5 kids that came over. Dane, you mentioned. And, you start wrestling some of those tough big school competitions, and it's going to make you better when I don't say go down a level, because that's not what I'm saying with it, but, you wrestle some top level competition. It's going to help you compete during the year. And they have a couple incoming freshmen that I know pretty well that transferred into the school, not transferred because Lakeside Lutheran is kids, they get kids from all over the area, but they're going to have a pretty good program this year, I think.
All right, next school up here. I think a team that I'm one of the teams I'm really excited to see how they do with this year is Martin Luther, who was first in the East Troy Regional with 246 points. At team sectionals, they lost 48-31 to Campbellsport. They were turning 12 of their 14 starters from that team sectional qualifying team and 205 points. They do lose LaShawn Wesley Carter, who qualified for state at 220, but they were turning 6 sectional qualifiers, 7 if you include Zion Sally, who he made it. He won the regional, but then he did not wrestle at sectionals. And I just got to say real quick on this team, we posted about them winning their regional, Steve, and it was one of the first teams we heard it right away that like, hey, you guys didn't pick us. So we definitely, it was one of those schools where, we ended up, I listened back to the podcast last year and we were thinking about picking them over East Troy, but ultimately the only thing that matters is if you pull the trigger on the pick, and we did not do that. And,
right.
We ended up paying for it with our prediction, but it was just,
and they let us know.
it was really awesome to see that. They had a good squad. They had a good duel at team sectionals. Now they're bringing back 12. Their girls team is really good as well. They have, I think it's like 7 starters coming back, and I know they're adding more. I think it's Jacob Farnes that's the head coach at Martin Luther. He's just really excited about this team this year, and for great reason. I'd be excited too if you had a team sectional team bringing back 12. And I know the sectional qualifiers, they didn't find a lot of wins at sectionals, but I think the fact that they got that experience is going to be huge. And I think their sectional Saturday is going to be even more successful this year.
Yeah, their numbers I haven't seen Martin Luther since we went over to the Richland Center sectional. So I haven't seen them in a few years, but their numbers are definitely better than they were the last time we wrestled over in that East Troy Regional. Kudos to coach for getting that going in the right direction. And sounds like girls as well. So that's always a good thing to build that part of our sport too.
Next team up is Pius the 11th Catholic, who was 6th in the East Troy Regional with 56 points. They were turning 3 of their 4 starters and 49 points. They'll be led by returning sectional qualifiers, Natale Cicero Hardiman and Harrison Gagenhuber.
Yeah, Harrison, who you mentioned, he was 21-2 going into sectional. So that's a pretty darn good record, good season there, and obviously a good build for this coming year.
Yeah, I've never seen him compete.
Well, coach, you will this year.
That's right.
Yeah.
Moving on to is Shoreland Lutheran, who was 5th in the East Troy Regional with 91 points. They were returning 6 of their 8 starters and 59 points. They'll be led by returning sectional qualifier Mason Gill and a couple wrestlers who placed 4th at regionals. Again, Mason Gill, I think, Steve, you might have seen the bracket. I know you look at those sectional brackets pretty closely. I think he was caught up behind a couple of good guys because I know he's a pretty good wrestler in his own right.
Yeah, Mason Gill, he was he was a state qualifier as a sophomore, correct?
He was previously,
yeah, state qualifier. Yeah, he chose probably the toughest weight class at this sectional. Blanchard, DeCellier, and Shaver were all in front of him. So that was a tough draw there. But yeah, I got to see him live wrestle at 2 different tournaments, and just a shout out to Shoreland Lutheran. The 2 tournaments I got to watch, their team, they wrestle as a team. You know, they're I saw one particular duel where as a team they were losing pretty handily, but they were still cheering their teammates on. They're right there yelling. They got loud, and obviously when they win, they cheer as well. But it's just it's neat to watch them as an organization really, really bond and gel as a group.
Moving on to Watertown Luther Prep, who was 3rd in the Campbellsport Regional with 181 points. They were turning 7 of their 13 starters and 81 points. They do lose Jesus Chavez Alejandre, who qualified for state at 170, but they're returning a sectional qualifier in Jason Karen, along with a handful of wrestlers who placed 3rd at regionals.
You know, I say this every year about Watertown Luther Prep, but I think it's got to be said is that what's impressive about this program is they don't have any true feeder program. I think most of their kids that go out for wrestling, this is a school where most, I believe most, if not all, the kids stay there on campus, and they come from all over the place, all over the country, maybe even country. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but many of these kids show up and their football coach, whoever it is, says, "Hey, you need to come out for wrestling." And a lot of them don't have anything else to do. So they come out for the program. And And here's what's impressive about Watertown Luther Prep is most of the time they have either close to or a full team. And those kids go out for only knowing wrestling a year or 2 or 3 years. They're competitive and they go after it. And it's nice to see a team with that kind of numbers with no true feeder program.
And last but definitely not least is Whitewater, who was first in the Jefferson Regional with 237.5 points. At team sectionals, they lost to Evansville 53-19. And from that team sectional qualifying team, they're returning 10 starters and 148.5 points. They do lose Carter Friend, who placed third at 160 pounds, and a Mason DePorter, who was a state qualifier at 220. They're returning sectional qualifiers, Jarvis Porcaro, Trayson Thomason, Aaron Porras, and Leo Ortiz. Also, just got to thank the people listening in real quick. I mean, we got 15 viewers on right now. I'm assuming most of the people here are for John. So thanks for sticking around. And now this is the moment we've all been waiting for. But real quick, John, I just got to say, Carter Friend third at 160. I wish I don't want to say I wish the seating were different, but I would have liked to have seen a Carter Eddie Symes match last year. I think
we would have too. Yeah, we would have too. But that's it. It is what it is. It's good. It's bad. If you want to inspire, yes, a little clearer now for Coach Bader. So that's okay. We look past it. Use that as motivation. So, yeah. For our team, it's we had a last year's group. They just gelled well together. We're losing that group of seniors. They were just such a nice group. But I really believe, as I've watched them over the summer in the weight room and just the things they do together, they're getting that bonding, which is so huge when we get into those tournament time, and they're there to wrestle for each other. And I'm looking forward to it. It's been a fun summer in the weight room with them. There's a lot of talk about the sport in the school, and that's always fun to be a part of. We got a few girls there joining, so I'm hoping to get some girls tournaments to add that to it to get even more excitement for the program. But gotta show up when it's time. And the people talk about losing a Carter Friend. Well, who's going to be the guy this year? We don't know who's going to be, and that's what I've said to a few of them in private. Are you going to be that guy that people are talking about? So that's what's fun.
Well, Coach, we're not letting you off that easy. I mean, you're talking about your program and how they're gelling. There's a comment by someone by the name of Allison, and this person said, and they had the best wrestling coach as well. Now
that would be Allison Schimming. So I think they might be.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't realize there was some bias there.
Well, thanks, Allison. That'd be my niece over in Milwaukee, actually. So,
nice.
Thanks for being on, Allison. And well, it's and I do it along with the help of my family at home. They're supportive, and I would say I got the best assistant wrestling coach, and that was proven this year. He won the assistant coach of the year, and he just does a phenomenal job helping get the kids to buy in. We're both involved in our youth program. So signs were up this morning outside the elementaries for our youth program starting after Thanksgiving. So it's just, we just try to get a good thing going and just keep that snowball rolling for the next 13, 15, 20 years, whatever it may be.
Coach, you something I talked to you about when we chatted on Thursday as well. I mean, I'm pretty local to you, so I get to see you guys, watch your team at dual meets, whatever it is. But something that I've noticed consistently since you've been at Whitewater, and even before with Wendell was the coach there, but you've done a great job. You always seem to have 30 plus kids in the wrestling room. And now this year you're talking, you have over 40 signed up again, right? I mean, what are you doing year in and year out to have a full wrestling room like you do?
I think having consistency through our club all the way through middle school. It's unfortunate you mentioned Coach Bean. He's still involved with our middle school. He left the program at high school in good hands, and he came to middle school, and he's involved with that. So that always helps me have consistency. We got Coach Moss from Coach Tab Moss. He's a teacher over at one of the elementaries. So that's good. You get those guys talking and just making it fun for the kids in practice, knowing how to read them if they're okay, we need to back off, and just not burn them out during the year and make it so they are talking about it in the summer and talking to their friends, and just get friends out to be a part of it.
I was going to say, because I can't remember if it's social media. It's got to be there because I'm not in your practice room, but I have noticed you guys through your social media posts and things like that, you guys do have a lot of fun in your practice room. Obviously you work hard as well, but when it's time to take that step back, and I can't remember what it was, and I'm just going to be drawing blanks here, but I watched you guys do some kind of competition, and it was pretty creative. It was not something I've ever seen before. And the kids look like they're having a blast, but working hard too.
Yeah. Yeah. Coach Gomez and my daughter do a work. They take control of that Instagram page, and they do a great job with that. Adam, that's the thing, promote it as much as we can. That's the thing with wrestling. You've got to promote it. They're just like you guys do with this. You do an outstanding job with this, and that's huge. Get your word, get the word out there to as many as we can. Our goal is to have the most subscribers around for our Instagram page. So Whitewater Wrestling.
I guess I got one question, and then while we've only been going, we haven't even been going for an hour, so we got all night to go. But
nice.
if anyone in the chat has any questions for Coach Schimming, now's the time to drop them. But Coach, a lot of great stuff about what you said about what you're doing with your team this year and how you run your program. Usually when we talk to most coaches, like a lot of the good stuff they have, they'd admit that they don't have that early on as coaches. Like it's stuff they learn and grow from. How do you feel like you've changed as a coach, like philosophically, the last 17 years at Whitewater?
The organization of our practices, we've streamlined. Kids know what to expect every time we walk into practice, and that's the things I like about going to the coaches clinic, because it justifies what we're doing. We're doing the right things in some areas, many areas. But kids know on Monday, here's what we're going to look like. Tuesday, okay. Wednesday, we don't have a dual Thursday. We're getting after it. The night before competition, okay, we get in, it's loose. We have a good, and I learned that. I had the opportunity to go down and visit with Coach Hack down in Harvard, Illinois. He opened up his room, and I learned a lot from that gentleman. One of my first years here, and it's just the way he ran had that consistency through all his practices, so the kids knew what to expect. And I think that's important too. They're not guessing. What kind of mood is Schimming in? Are we? What are we going to have tonight? And I think that's important. The consistency of what it looks like.
And they know what they're looking to get into or looking forward to as well.
Right. Yeah.
Well, Steve, that brings us to our second round of super regional picks. Thank you for the insights, by the way, Coach. That's always our favorite parts of these shows.
Hope is okay.
Get to yeah. I was gonna say dissect your brain a little bit, but I don't think that's pick your brain. That's what it is. Yeah.
There you go. Who do we got?
And
that's me. Yeah, just normally I put a little bit more thought into this one. Not thought, that's the wrong way to say it. Normally I analyze these two, but I think the last regional as well as this one, as far as the champion goes, I think it's pretty cut and dry. The number one team that's going to be coming out of this one, Coach, congratulations. This one isn't, I'm not picking favorites here. Looking at the numbers, you guys are the top team in this regional, according to my picks. And I had better picks last year than Teague. Statistics prove. So go with mine. Didn't I win last year, Teague? I thought I did.
You might have.
I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you did.
I was trying to throw a little shot there, and I saw the look on your face. I'm like, oh shoot, maybe I didn't win last year, but whatever.
I think you did.
I'm a legend in my own mind, but yeah, Coach, you got some good, consistent numbers coming back of starters, and just knowing that your room is packed with wrestlers. That brings competition, right? That's going to be the rising tide is going to raise all ships there as far as that goes. And then another team that I'm going to pick, although. Their success at sectionals wasn't the best, but I think they have a year of growth under them. I think there's other teams that could possibly pass them. This whole super regional thing, right? It's if you don't have guys place, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to score points, right? I mean, as you look at it, but I think that Martin Luther, with the numbers they have coming back and the experience they have coming back, they're ready to take that. I don't want to say next step because second place isn't a next step forward, but making it to team sectionals is going to be another building block for this program. So my top 2 teams are Whitewater first and Martin Luther second.
All right. Well, to spoil any dramatics, I had the same thing here. I know
all 4 are the same.
In terms of returners, there's no team that matches you two, and you both were team sectional qualifiers last year. The success kind of shows that, yeah, you both have numbers coming back. And yeah, I mean, nothing really to argue with the two. Well, the only thing I got to differ with Steve on is I don't think it's going to be as easy for Whitewater to win the super regional. Also, picking one of these 2 teams to win, we both picked wrong on picking against them last year. So we're just between a rock and a hard place. But I also picked Whitewater to win, but I really don't think Martin Luther is going to make it easy on them. I think it's going to be a true team effort for Martin Luther. I think they're going to have a lot of guys like throughout the roster score a decent amount of points. And I think Coach, I think you guys are going to have like a good day to beat Martin Luther. But yeah, I'm still picking you to win, but it'll be a fun battle. It'll be a good test between 2 teams trying to get to that next level.
Yeah, well, Whitewater boys, the target's on your back now. Now you gotta, it's day 1.
I was going to say, we can pick the last thing we need to do.
That's all I ask. We improve every day and we get ready for the right time of the season. That's what we did last year. And yeah, Teague picked against us last year. And so we'll put
Did I pick you guys last year?
Tournament. Huh?
I must have. I think I picked you guys last year.
Yeah. Teague didn't.
Hey, look at you picked you
picked Delavan.
Yeah, we both picked Delavan.
Oh, did we really? Oh, okay.
Oh, but hey, speaking of Martin Luther, Jacob Farnes is on. So yeah, that's
hey, Coach.
Well, Jake, we got the target on Whitewater's back, and we gave you guys a little ammo to start the year. So yeah, glad we can have this working relationship again this year. Thanks for hopping on. No, that's going to be a fun one though, which brings us to team sectionals. And Steve, we'll just we can run through on this one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I got all right. I got Evansville versus Martin Luther and Whitewater versus Darlington. With Evansville and Martin Luther, I just think coming in, I brought up Evansville with the chip on their shoulder already. I think Martin Luther is going to have a better team than they did last year, but they're just kind of running into a buzzsaw in Evansville. If these picks turn out the way they do, I have Evansville beating Martin Luther, and then Whitewater versus Darlington. So whichever team wins that super regional, if Darlington happens to be the second place team, it's going to be a really good duel there to see who makes the finals. All 3 teams that we talked about, they have good depth. They all have a couple of hammers too. So it's honestly just going to be a matchup thing. Darlington, you can't forget they had a really close duel with Fenimore last year, but I think Whitewater bringing back 10, that's pretty solid. I'm going to go with Whitewater winning, which brings me to Evansville Whitewater. And based on based on the dual score from last year, both bringing back similar starters. I do have Evansville in this one. So there is your bulletin board material. I just think Evansville is going to be really hungry to get back to team state this year. And I heard about the youth program from Steve, so I think they'll reload fine. I think the duel will be a little better this year. And I do think this is Evansville's sectional to lose.
Nice job. Yeah. I had a lot of notes here, Teague, and you kind of took most of them. So we're pretty much, we're slightly different here. My first pick is Evansville, Martin Luther. I think we're going to give Jacob here a little bit of bulletin board material. Evansville, you nailed it. If they stayed in that other sectional, I think they were going to go in with a chip on their shoulder, and they're definitely going to come in this one with one. So I think Evansville is going to move on to the finals. And then Whitewater, Darlington, Blackhawk. You're right, Teague. I think this is going to be a less than a 5-point duel. It's going to obviously come down to bonus points. Darlington Blackhawk returning 9, Whitewater, you said 10, right? I don't have my, that's pretty close. I think Darlington is going to be a matchup. They're going to be tough because they're going to have some strong guys that they're going to be able to move around. Right. And you can't, I just think when you have those studs in there and depends on where they're placed, it's going to be a coaching nightmare for matchups. Right. So I'm going to go for Darlington Blackhawk coach. I apologize. Don't find where I live. Well, you can try to, I'm moving. So good luck.
He's taking down notes.
Yeah, you bet. So I'm going to say Darlington Blackhawk is going to be in the finals against Evansville. However, here it is, Teague. I think Evansville, Prairie du Chien, when we did this Sectional C, D2 Sectional C preview, I spoke pretty high of PDC, right? I was almost calling my shot and saying they were going to win state. I didn't do it. I was almost calling it right there. If there was one team, obviously 2 teams, another one that sometimes give PDC fits, it's Lodi. And I really think Evansville this year was going to give Prairie du Chien fits if they stayed in that team section. I just think Evansville, there was a happy day that came out, and it was somewhere mid-April when the sectional assignments came out and they switched down here. Maybe there was a little bit of a sigh of relief, but maybe it was a little bit like, no, we want to qualify for state, by beating Prairie du Chien and Lodi. But I think Evansville is just going to be too tough in this one, and they're going to represent that team state.
All right, that's what we got.
That's
Coach.
it.
There you go. You got a little bit of both tonight. Yeah,
good picks. When you talk about the Darlington boys, with those 2 state high place winners, sometimes you hope you have enough depth when you're competing against the quote sacrificial lamb against them when you get the draw. So you're not stud versus stud in a duel like that.
That's right.
John already has like 3 iterations of the duel written out, I'm sure.
John's mind works like what's that, Rain Man? Just
going beyond team sectionals real quick. This individual sectional is really interesting. So John and I were talking a little bit before air, but from Sectional D last year, 9 of the top 10 scoring teams either went to Sectional B or Sectional C. And that left a lot of space wide open. Like Steve, we're going to be busy for the outline next year because there's only 10 returning state qualifiers in this sectional, which means a lot of new opportunities and a lot of kids that are going to be hungry to get to the Kohl Center. Exactly. And Coach, I mean, you've probably been in the situation before. It's going to be that sectional day. It's going to be a huge day for a lot of teams and a lot of kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, why not you? We don't know who it's going to be for Whitewater. Why not you? That's what I say to each one of them.
It's definitely, it's going to be wide open, and I'm really excited to keep track of this one. But yeah, John, just want to thank you for coming on, man. We're excited to get you on, and second ever live sectional preview. You brought an army of Whitewater folks with you, so that was awesome.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it. It was fun. Thanks, guys. And good luck to you guys that you go through the season here, and looking forward to it. 6 days away.
Steve, you got anything to close out?
No, man, fired up. John, you did awesome. Glad to have you on.
All right. Thank you.
Folks, I just got to say thanks for tuning in. Only one podcast this week. We're doing D3 Sectional D next week, but last round of Ultimate Team State on Wednesday. And then on next week, I think we're going to we got a freshman, a girls preview, and then you're going to have a very special guest on at some point here. We'll, once we've hashed out more details, we'll figure that out. But folks, 6 days till wrestling season, 7 if you're listening live. But thanks for tuning in. And until next time, we will catch you on the flip side. All right. Perfect.